Hi, friends. I hope you guys are doing great. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about something I don't think I've talked about before. One of my favorite, or I guess I should say, one of my big hobbies over the past 10 years has been drinking tea. And currently, I'm taking a long break from caffeine, maybe for a year or two at least. I'm going to do no caffeine. It's been really interesting to not have any caffeinated beverages because before I was into tea, I was really, really into coffee. And it was just getting too extreme to rely on caffeine from coffee to wake up every day. So I switched over to tea, and I've been drinking tea for 15 years or so. And if you don't know much about tea, then it's a big world. And when I say I was drinking tea, I don't mean that I was just going to the grocery store and getting like tea bags. I mean, I was learning about Chinese, Japanese, and Taiwanese teas and brewing them at home in very sort of specific ways. Some people would say it's like a ceremonial brewing. We could get into all of that. I could talk about tea for a really, really long time, and it's a great hobby. But anyway, because I'm not drinking caffeinated teas right now, today I'm going to talk about herbal tea, which is actually I got into herbal tea before caffeinated tea, and there's plenty to say about herbal tea as well. But today I'm just going to show you how I brew my herbal tea at home. And yeah, if you want to get into it, this should be very helpful. And if not, it'll still probably be somewhat interesting. All right. So I'm going to put you in my stand here. Okay, sweet. Awesome. Okay, first, obviously, you can buy teas in those little tea bags, little sachets that have the tea ground up beforehand, and there's nothing wrong with that. But whether it's caffeinated tea or herbal tea, the high quality stuff is loose leaf. And so there's a very nice store nearby me here in Austin called the Herb Bar where I get my herbal teas. So this is one herb that I'm going to use today, Tulsi. Tulsi is a very sacred herb in the Ayurvedic system, the Indian traditional medicinal system, kind of like TCM or traditional Chinese medicine, but in India instead. If you're a yogini or a yogi, then you've probably encountered Ayurveda. Or if you use the Aveda shampoos and stuff, this stuff is awesome. Excuse me. There's a bunch of shit in the air right now, unfortunately. Then the second herb I'm going to use is this ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is another Ayurvedic herb, but it's actually a root. Hopefully you can kind of see little pieces of the root there. Very, very nice adaptogenic herb. Great for restoring strength to the body and mind as well, I would say. And then the last herb I'm going to use today is this motherwort. And motherwort is just really soothing, anxiety-reducing herb. Very, very nice. All right, so if you want to brew herbal tea at home, especially if you're going to get into the loose leaf stuff, it's very helpful to have a reusable way to do it where you're not throwing out a bunch of paper or bags and stuff. It just gets annoying after a while. And what I recommend to everyone, honestly, and this applies to loose leaf tea too, is the teaware made by For Life. See, you can probably see the little company there, right? For Life, Forlife. And I like them a lot, mostly because of this great infuser that they include with all their cups. You can probably see that it probably has like several thousand holes in there. It's very, very fine holes. And this is great because you can put essentially any herb or tea in here and it won't get stuck in the holes because they're so, so tiny. And you can easily clean the thing out and use it over and over and over again. I had an older For Life cup that I had used for at least a decade and a half. And someone stole it, unfortunately. So I had to buy a new one. It's very sad. But the infuser in the old one I had literally used for, 15 years or whatever. So this is probably the greatest easy way to get into loose leaf tea. And of course, it's a cup that you can drink out of. And then the infuser fits into the cup concentrically very nicely. And then it also comes with a lid that you can place on top while the tea is brewing or steeping. And then when you're done, you can flip the lid upside down and use it as a saucer to place the infuser on, and then you can drink the tea. Really, really awesome little method, and I highly recommend it. Now, a while ago, I got this little teapot that I like a lot. Again, it's a 4Life one, so this is almost like a commercial for the 4Life company. I just, there's lots of fancy stuff you can buy, but the 4Life stuff is just designed for efficiency. And you can see it has a very similar mesh filter right here, and otherwise it's just a food grade stainless steel teapot that fits really nicely and that pours really nicely. So I'm going to use this one today just because I've been enjoying using it. All right. So, like I said, if you're going to use loose leaf tea, then, or if you're going to get into high quality stuff, then the loose leaf is the way to go. And you absolutely don't have to have a little herb grinder, but I like using it a lot. I'm just trying to expose as much of the tea, as much of the herb, as much of the tea to the water as possible. So having a little herb grinder is nice. And I'm gonna, the thing about herbal tea is that you can use essentially anything for herbal tea. For instance, when I lived in the Northeast, I would use pine needles for herbal tea. And the pine needles from a good tree are just excellent if you're having a cold or sinus issues. My point being that pretty much any plant can be turned into herbal tea. And then when we talk about tea generally, we're talking about a very specific plant, right? We're talking about this one plant called Camellia sinensis. That's the caffeinated tea that everyone is familiar with. And whether it's, black tea or green tea or oolong, white tea, etc., is all in how you prepare the tea. So really, when you're talking about tea, you're generally talking about one plant, that Camellia sinensis. But when you're talking about herbal tea, you're talking about using essentially any plant in existence as a tea. And so that being said, herbal tea is this huge world that includes so many possibilities in terms of what you could be drinking. And of course, each herb has its own benefits, health benefits, or uses medicinally. So there's a decade of study that can be put into that. Easy. There's so many different herbs to try, but I would recommend not doing what I did. And what I did is I just tried every single herb I could get my hands on, and it was a good experience. But a lot of herbs, like, you really just shouldn't be drinking all the time. Like, ginseng is popular, but ginseng can be damaging to the body if you just go crazy with it. Or, some people love St. John's wort. That's great for depression, but man, it really strings you out and will mess with your neurochemistry if you drink it with reckless abandon. So anyway, there's lots to learn with herbal tea, but I think this is the way to get started, is just to find who sells loose leaf herbs around you and to get yourself an easy way of brewing it. All right, so there's my mixture today. I did just as much as my intuition told me. A little bit of motherwort, a little bit of tulsi. I'm going to use this ashwagandha too. Man, ashwagandha is an amazing herb. It smells kind of like horse manure, or not horse manure, but it smells like horses, like used horse hay or something like that. My friend also said it kind of reminded him of smelling like bread, which is true too. It's a little bit of a nicer way of describing it. anyway, so there's my mixture for today. With herbal tea, you don't want to use, generally speaking, unless you're doing roots and stuff only, you don't really want to use really hard boiling water. You want to use maybe 190, 180 degrees. But just to finish this video, because again, we could talk about herbal tea for a long time. It's also good to have a nice kettle. I like to use these glass kettles right here. What is it? Jenna Trend Glass. Yeah, it's a German company. I like them because it's just not, doesn't have anything in it that would be harmful. Very, very pure glass, I suppose. It's actually the same glass they use for like test tubes and stuff like that. I can't remember the specific name, but what I'm going to do to prepare the tea, obviously, is boil the water, but maybe right under boil, like I said, 190, 195 maybe. And I'll fill this guy up for about 5 minutes or so, and I'll drink the first round of tea. And then I'll put a bunch more water in here, and I'll probably get like 2 or 3 servings out of that tea that I brewed. And, you know, especially with herbal tea, again, there's different ways of preparing herbal tea. Like, you can make a decoction, which is not even really steeping it. It's more like a reduction, as when you like reduce sauces in cooking. That's one way, but with this much more simple method, you can pretty much drink the tea as long as it has a nice color and flavor in it, and you're going to get something from it. So yeah, that's my introduction to herbal tea, or getting into herbal tea. Like I said, there's a lot to be said, and there's a lot to explore in it. But anyway, I encourage anyone who is into it to try out the 4Life, or just to get into herbal tea in general. It's a lot of fun. And man, it is just a really great way to solve health and wellness problems in essentially a completely non-toxic way. Because I mentioned that, I'll just say, for instance, if you have trouble sleeping, there are so many herbs that promote sleep. Sleeping fitfully, getting to sleep more quickly, sleeping deeper, etc. Chamomile, lemon balm, lavender, especially if you're female. Lavender is really helpful. California poppy, etc., etc. There's so many good herbs for that. So feel free to explore it, and let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a wonderful day.